A very small family union and gathering that we are going to talk about today. Listen to this because we are talking about the battle of family worship. We are born from different types of families, and when we are born from different families, from the family differently, and again in the process of worship, we have to have a different way of worship, all of us. And you know what? The word worship is too stronger than prayer. You know what? The word worship is exclusively that one of the most powerful way that was used in the Bible than prayer. Because prayer is obviously the request that a man does apart from himself and again to God. But I want to talk to this morning about the family worship and how we worship. We are talking about one idiot called Pharaoh. We call him an idiot because most of the time we get annoyed because of these acts, and most of the time he always resists of the worship of the true God. Jesus spoke in the book of John, chapter number 4, when he was talking to the Samaritan woman, and the Bible says this woman talked to Jesus and said, he said to Jesus, and they said, "Our fathers, they worshipped in those mountains, and our fathers worshipped in that mountain." What does it say? What is in the mountain? In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter number 12, if you start reading from verse number 1, the Bible talks about worship in various families again. The Bible says, when you shall arrive in that land, the first thing that you must identify is a place of worship. One of the places of worship was in those mountains. And you know what? In the very mountains, some areas, sometimes it's not a very good place of worship, because most of the things that are worshipped in those mountains are very evil. Because remember, we are talking about the true worship. Because remember, even Rachel, when she was coming out of his father's house, the first thing she came from the father's house were idols of his father, meaning that about worship. So today we are talking about the worship. And when you are talking about the worship, we are talking about the family worship. Because every time that, even when you meet as a family, when you congregate as a family, when you meet together as a family, when you speak, calls you, when the grandmother calls for the family gathering, what do you worship? That's my question. That's what we are talking about today. Because the Bible says in the book of First Samuel, chapter number 1, from verse number 3, year after year, Elkanah was going to Shiloh to worship the Lord together with his family, his two wives, and his children. That is what it means all about the family worship. The family must design a worship altar, a place that they worship themselves. Because the Bible is clear in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter number 12, verses number 5 and 7, he says, "You shall go to the place where I have my dwelling that I've chosen, and you go to the place." Not every place that as a family that you go and worship, because worship is the most powerful thing that encroaches and entangles men in this particular levels of life. And that's why this morning, by the grace of God, as we are gathering here today in King's Covenant Cathedral, we are speaking about worship. We are talking about worship. I am not talking about the songs. I'm not talking about the praise and worship. I'm not talking about what they call experience, worship experience. I'm talking about deeper than the songs that you hear people say. Because the songs can be like some flavors that are added in the cooking of the meal. But one of the greatest part of it, worship, it is one of the greatest things that people does. That's why Pharaoh was so careful that he cannot give the children of Israel the opportunity to go and worship. Remember this, the Bible says he told Moses, "Let those people go. Let their family go and worship the Lord, but let them not go too far." In other words, you are not given an opportunity. I get sometimes disappointed when you give some people opportunity to worship the Lord. You can never, people pray, but they don't understand that the worship is more higher than prayer. Because you misunderstand, people call devil worshippers, idol worshippers. They don't sing, they give sacrificially. One of the things of giving is, apart from the giving, it is giving your bodies. Romans chapter number 12, the Bible says, "Give yourself as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. Give your bodies. Number one, you must travel. Listen to this. Abraham traveled to Mount Moriah. Elkanah traveled to Mount Moriah. And even this Samaritan woman was telling Jesus that their fathers were traveling to the mountain to go and worship. Look at the lessons and some things that we are trying to perpetuate in the Christian circle, that we love the thing that is called online. When you're in the bedroom sipping your coffee and then you're telling us you're worshiping, you have not given your bodies as a living sacrifice. So even as I'm preaching to you today, make a decision to be in a place physically. You can never be injected online. You can never give birth online. You can never get pregnant online. I mean, the dramatic on the Pentecostals in terms of this thing they call that online worship. Please get out of it, and may God give you grace that you may give your bodies as a living sacrifice. See you in the service today, King's Covenant Cathedral. We are praying that one of the greatest firewood that will keep the fire burning in the altar, it is worship. And the worship comprises three things. One, there must be a physical priest who is present, who ministers to you, who speaks to your life. And that's what the Bible says in Deuteronomy chapter number 20, from verse number 2. When you are at the verge of the battle, the priest physically shall step forward and speak to the people. And as this morning, I want to pray that the Lord will give you an opportunity. Teach your children. Because the Bible says in Exodus chapter number 12, and when the children of Israel, God told them, when your children will be asking you about this act of worship, how do you do it? You know, the most laziest people now who are trying to do some lazy, idiotic, satanic things is the Christian family who want to promote laziness, in terms of worship. But I pray that the Lord will give you grace. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pastor Lawrence, King's Covenant Cathedral, right here in Nakuru, Kenya. I pray that the Lord will give you an opportunity as we join this morning to do worship as a family. The battles of worship. The enemy is looking for people to worship him. And that's so the Bible, Jesus said, he said the last verse, Jesus said, verse number 25, Jesus said, the hour is coming now when the true worshipers worship the Father in truth and spirit. The Bible says, and my Father is seeking for the true worshipers. And the enemy, the devil, is also looking for worshipers who can worship him in exchange of their soul. The Bible says that what shall it benefit a man if you gain the whole world and lose your own soul, So the enemy is also looking for worshipers. God is looking for worshipers. And this morning, choose to worship the Lord. Please, even as you are singing, I know the experience, they call it worship experience, they call praise and worship, they call many things. Please remember, what is worship? What is worship this morning? The Lord bless you. Shalom. I will see you shortly in the service. Thank you.